Welcome to a brand new season of Think Governance. In this series, we unpack King 5, a bold new standard for ethical leadership, accountability, and sustainable value creation in South Africa. Join us as we explore what this means for directors, business leaders, and governance professionals shaping the future. Hello, welcome. Today, I'm having the absolute honor of chatting with the CEO of the IoDSA and a very long-standing member of the King Committee, Parmi Natesan. And I'll jump straight into it. Parmi, the IoDSA has convened the King Committee and has owned the King reports since their inception. Why has the IoDSA taken this role, and why is it important for King 5 to continue under IoDSA's custodianship?
So firstly, I think people don't realize that the IoD, being the convener of the King Committee and also the custodian and owner of the King reports themselves, dates back all the way to 1992. The IoD Council back then resolved that South Africa needed a corporate governance code. And it was actually by a chance encounter, the then CEO of the IoD, Mr. Richard Wilkinson, bumped into the Sir Adrian Cadbury of the UK Cadbury Codes in a lift in London. And that's really where the seed was planted that South Africa needed something similar. The IoD established the King Committee back then and approached the former judge, Mervyn King, to chair the committee. And that's how we get to where we are today. Now, on the second part of your question, it's very important that any code of this nature has a home, a place where it belongs, an organization that will look after it, that will invest in it, that will grow its profile and impact and ensure that it has credibility. And that's where we see the role of the IoDSA come in. For us at the IoD, and this aligns directly with our vision, better directors, better boards, better business, I often say ultimately a better South Africa. And really as a professional body for directors, central to our vision and one of our strategic objectives is to improve governance in the country. And that's why we remain committed to the King reports, not only embedding it, but supporting it and giving it the credibility it deserves. So this is such an important milestone for us to be now launching King 5.
And that's a lovely take there. Following on the role of the IoDSA over the years, I know there's been a huge focus on training and director development. Now, how will you ensure that King 5 is meaningfully understood, meaningfully inculcated across all the sectors?
So definitely at the IoD, we see our role as going far beyond just publishing a code. I think, you mentioned training already. We've already opened our public training dates for King 4 or King 5 starting in November. And we're engaging with many corporates, as you know, on doing direct sessions with their boards on King 5. We'll also support companies in consulting projects, so implementation plans for King 5, gap analyses, really getting the code embedded into their operations. But very importantly, we've also prepared extensive guidance material that will be released and will accompany King 5 when it gets launched now on the 31st of October. We wanted this to be a code that when it gets released, people can pick it up and understand it and start applying it and can work with the various pieces of information to really drill down into what we were trying to do. We've worked on a paper on monitoring and enforcement of King 5. And why is this important? We really wanted to explain the various role players in this governance ecosystem that we work in, and each of their duties and roles to hold organizations accountable for how they practice governance. And so that's a key guidance note that will be released. The other very important one is a general application guidance note, including proportionality with practical examples. Now, King 4 already spoke about proportionality, but I think it's something that's perhaps less understood. The market seems to struggle with this, and we still see people referring to things as though they are rules. You'll see the media, they'll talk about a 9-year rule. Well, no, there are no rules. There are practice recommendations. And all of them are intended to be applied proportionally for an organization's size, nature, impact, risk, etc. And obviously, the larger and more complex an organization becomes, one would expect them to apply more of the recommended practices. But it's really meant to be fit for purpose, right? And this is what this guidance note tries to get across, with some very practical examples, which I hope will be useful to the users. Then separate to general application, I've also worked on drafting a number of sector-specific application guidance notes. And what does this mean? So some sectors, let's say the public sector or retirement funds, medical schemes, may come to us, even non-profits, SMEs, may come to us and say, King 5 is written for listed companies, it doesn't apply to me. And no, that's never been the intention, right? King 4, as with its predecessors, are written for all organizations in South Africa. And if you look at how the principles are written, they are universally applicable. So what we really wanted to do with these 7 sector guidance notes is really set out how King 5 can be applied and should be applied in their sectors. Whether that means setting out terminology differences. So in King, we talk about governing body, but for a municipality, you're going to talk about the council. So we set out the various terminology interpretations and how the terminology in their sector still applies to the general terminology in King. And then we also set out very specific guidance on nuances and points of emphasis for each principle of King 5 and how it applies in these contexts and in these unique circumstances with sometimes very unique legislations and founding environments. So all of these resources are freely available on the IoDSA website, and we believe this is going to go a very long way to assist organizations to really implement and embed King 5. And of course, one of the things I've become known for is we'll continue to be active in the media, offering thought leadership, commentary on how King 5 can be used to strengthen governance in South Africa. So those are some of the thoughts that we have. The other thing we've considered is also running workshops as we grow and learn with this code, is offering workshops in the various sectors and even then updating the sector guidance notes as we gain more understanding and a deeper entrenchment of the code into various sectors. Brilliant.
So Parmi, you've given us quite a bit to look out for on the eve, or at least at the riverbank of the launch for King 5. Now, as a parting shot, what would you like to leave behind for directors, for leaders, and for stakeholders that are looking forward to King 5 now?
So my message is really simple. King 5 is only as powerful as we collectively bring it to life. You know, I always say legislation and even codes of governance like King 5 can't exist on its own. They need human beings to bring them to life. Codes don't govern organizations, people do. And this is where we need directors and other governance professionals and anyone really playing a role in this governance ecosystem in our business world to apply King in a thoughtful and purposeful manner, to really think about what the intention is and not just do it for the sake of compliance and not just be ticking boxes to get the job done. I really believe if we do this, we'll move closer to our vision of better directors, better boards, better business, ultimately better South Africa. I really think that there's potential in King 5 to really make a big difference. And now it's up to each one of us to really deliver on it. And that's my key message, is to really a call to action to all governance role players in all sectors and spheres of business to make King 5 the reality that we believe it can be.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a call to action. Thank you for listening in. Please look out for episodes on King 5 on all our socials. Thank you.